Hello, my name is FRANCESFOX. I'm a trained remote viewer. All my psychic skills have been trained and watched and statistically analyzed. I've worked with shamans across the world. I lived in a mountain in Tibet. I don't actually know if it was a week or a month or 3 months. I doubt it was 3 months. But all sorts of things were done to me, including injecting me with, I don't know if it was injection. I don't know why I said it was an injection. I don't remember exactly what form. I was given LSD, da 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 da. So I have a lot of experience in the other dimensions, and my mission is to use this extra information to help what the Buddha calls diminish human anguish, which means I really don't want people to suffer as much as they're suffering. I definitely don't want anybody having to go through what I've been through or anything that would be very painful. By the way, that's the definition of a Buddha. So if you're the same way, you just don't want people to suffer and you actually do something to try to diminish human suffering, that turns you into a Buddha. So we have a lot of people around us that are that way. It's just a different name. I'm not saying you're another Jesus Christ, but being a Buddha is kind of like a really wonderful thing, especially when you know the definition. So today, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about portals and weird things. Who on earth decided to give the Democratic Convention in a city that has a huge portal evidenced by the number of assassination attempts every weekend for years? Who made that decision? Well, anybody who's super modern today, who has disconnected from their instincts, who only looks at the evidence on the physical dimension, that kind of a person. We can't continue to be that kind of people because we're going to have, I have no idea how this convention is going to end, but I know what happens every weekend because we hear it every once in a while in the news, the number of kids and people that got shot. So in the future, we will be doing what was always done, particularly by, not particularly, but even by the civilizations that built pyramids and things that we cannot build today. We will have someone talk to the spirits of the land or the spirits that might be involved or the spirits that we use as part of our SWAT team. The Mantrist movement has a SWAT team of beings from the other dimensions and from other times. And we would ask, what's the best place? Or is this a good place? And you would have been told, they kill all these people every week for years, nonstop. Why on earth, in other words, honestly, logic would say, why on earth would you want to have a national convention there? I'm not trying to put down Chicago. Situations have to be properly identified for what they are and what they can give you. Transference of energy. But in this case, it's not even a transference, it's a portal to hell. So we don't know what's going to happen there. But anybody who's there for 3 days, who is in a high degree of emotionality, will be particularly affected by being in a portal. And when you look at the movies and TV, the portals are going into another dimension. Yeah, that's when the adventurer, Indiana Jones. I don't know if they had portals there. They had magic boxes, but I don't know portals. Yeah, they go. No, 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 no. Portals are two ways. You can use them to go someplace. Meanwhile, you don't even have a guidebook. You don't even know that you have a spirit. And the portal is an opening to all sorts of beings that are on the other side that couldn't come in other than through a portal. And because they're not ethical, the kinds of things that come are the ones that create a lot of problems. So portals, we need to start believing them. We need to start believing them because we're doing stuff that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so another thing I would like for Trump to look into once he gets installed, doesn't have to be the first day. Okay, you got a lot on your plate for the first day. One thing I'm going to call you on in a few minutes, Trump. Washington, D.C. is built on a literal swamp Okay. And people say, no, got to drain the swamp. Well, you can't drain a swamp. First place, swamps are there for a reason. Do you know what swamps are for? Swamps is where Mother Earth puts the spirits of people that died and they haven't made it to the light. So they are held in swamps, and there's an acid to the water. It's like not healthy. So, okay, Francis, well, how do you know all this stuff? The way I know a lot of stuff. But what are the two places for horror movies? Cemeteries. And what's the second place? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. What is the second place? Swamps. Oh, yeah. Our capital is on a swamp. And swamps change people. First place, they tend to put on weight. Even if they don't put on weight, they feel very heavy. They become very, very depressed. The energy is very heavy and depressing, and they can have health issues. And they're living with spirits, and they're living with spirits that have not gone to the light, but they didn't go to the light and then come back and they're here to help out and they're nice guys and they're angels. No, 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 no. These are people that were bad enough emotionally and spiritually that they didn't make it to the light. They have to be cleaned up and shined up a little bit, and then they get sent off to the light. Those are the people you're living with in swamps. Those are the people you're living with without a physical body in Washington, D.C. How important is that? It's important enough to where even today people say, like there's a shopping center in Miami that is stunning. They keep selling it for millions and somebody else takes it over, they redo it, and it still can't make it. And people say, no, it was built on an Indian burial ground. Yes, correct. It was. Correct. Washington, D.C. is not an Indian burial ground. It is a Mother Earth holding ground for spirits that didn't do well when they died. So you need to take care of that. Trump, I don't know how you're going to do it because I don't think, and you can't go and say you're going to drain the swamp because then everybody thinks you're going to be talking about them. Literally, Washington, D.C. is on top of a swamp. Okay, continuing with news from other dimensions here on FRANCESFOX News from Other Dimensions. On X, there were two posts that people thought were funny, and I am dying. Both of them showed a mother that has a kid in the car seat in the back of the car. The mother has the door open and is leaning over the kid, and the mother lifts up the kid's arm, and the kid is asleep. The child is asleep. The arm stays in the air. It doesn't come down. And they're laughing about it. The arm stays in the air. The kid is collapsed, sleeping in his car seat, and the arm is up like this. It's not like this, it's up like this, and they're laughing. The mother's laughing. What does that mean? What that means is that child is already half of a zombie. That means that child's spirit is not inside that body. That the physical body is there. The second body, which is shaped like the physical body, but it's like a Higgs field, layers and layers and layers of grid that protect what's inside, which is the spirit and the spirit emotional body and the causal body. But to get the etheric, which is what creates form and structure and protection in the human assemblage, does not act on its own. It has to have a reason to act that comes from the spirit. And let me come at this this is like so bad that it would make kind of like want to give up, that people don't know enough about themselves as a human being, how they're structured, that they would think that it's funny that a child has lost total control of their physical body, that it doesn't matter what position it's in, the child's fine. The child is not fine. The child is gone. Gone, gone, gone. I was going to explain it another way, and I'm not sure. Okay, the zombie issue. You have an assemblage of bodies as human beings. This is still news from other dimensions. This is something that's happening today, this week. You have a physical body. Okay. You have a structure. When you die, that physical body is a bag of bones. It can't move. When you give the person anesthetics, they can't move their physical body because that vitality comes from someplace else. It comes from another body, which is the etheric body, which is the one that's shaped like the physical body, but it's made of grids. So it's like a wireframe for the physical body. That's where your vitality comes from. That's your immune system. But that body, your physical body, has zero consciousness. The etheric body, the grid body, has minimal consciousness. Minimal. It's robotic. And that is what's holding the physical arm up in the air. If the spirit of that person was in that assemblage of bodies, which are the Russian dolls, one inside the other, okay, that arm wouldn't stay in the air because the person would feel the discomfort and would drop their arm. They're not feeling the discomfort. That's the preamble to zombie, where what's supposed to be inside that body is gone. The spirit is gone. So that zombie that has the physical, that is the etheric body, the grid, the one with vitality and structure that holds the physical body up. So it's not just a bag of bones. That body in a zombie, when you put clothing on it, it looks really weird because the spirit that's inside is not the same size. We don't have that issue yet. I'm not sure with these kids. I'm going on too long about this. Let me tell you something. We have a huge problem. When you can get a little kid, a year and a half, and pull their arm up and it will stay up in the air, that kid is not in control of their assemblage of bodies. There is no space that is left empty on planet Earth that does not get filled with something. And guess what that kid's body is going to get filled with or is already filled with? Next, I'm not going to keep dwelling on that because it's very, very distressing. So here I was thinking, when the ETs land 3.5 weeks ago, oh no, you don't know that yet. Oh, okay. When they land, when they start to mix in, when you have to accept that they exist, then you have to start setting up something to start educating people. So we already told you to start practicing with animals, whether it's a squirrel that comes to your window or whether it's your pet. Start telling your pet you want to communicate and practice. And then know that the biggest issue is going to be that you are not going to believe what you hear in your head. You're going to think that you were the one that put those words there. So your big job is your belief system. So then do a purification mantra, even though I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to do it, I love and accept myself. Or even though I'm afraid I'm inventing these words, I love and accept myself. In other words, reduce your belief that you can't do that, this is too hard, that this is not working, that it's not really your squirrel that talked in your head and is saying those things. And I'll tell you just my experience with that. I worked with animals since I was a child. I worked with dolphins via the military. That wasn't very successful. It was not because the dolphins and I did fine. It was the scientists that were trying to extract information from them via me that wasn't working. Obviously, I was a kid and I did get it. That was the issue. I did get it. I was going to say I didn't get it. I did get it. I didn't like what the intentions were. So that wasn't successful. But anyway, in 1996, I went to the Miami Seaquarium with a little tape recorder. And I said, you know what? Let me see if I can talk to the dolphins. Why not? So I put on my little tape recorder and I was tired. And I leaned my head up against a banister or something that was there. I was right there with the tank with the dolphins. And I spoke to them and I said, I'm so sorry. I mean, you're trapped here in this tank. And then I heard in my head, we're more free than you are. And I was like, wait a second, wait a second. I don't think I invented that because I don't actually believe that. And that's when I reconnected with them and I wrote the book, The Gods Speak, Dolphin Wisdom Revealed. So I didn't trust myself, yet the answer was so obviously not from me that it was, even with all of that, I went back for several months, once a week. And as I repeated into the tape recorder what the dolphins told me, I still didn't believe it. Even when it got typed up by a typist and transcribed, I didn't believe it. And when I put it in book form, which you can get on Amazon, yeah, I believed it. There's this tremendous resistance, which of course are spirits that do not want us to access these helpers. God put animals and nature first before human beings on planet Earth to help us out. And we don't trust. In the first place, we don't really believe that, even the Christians. And we don't trust when we do get information. So start your interspecies communication training at home. It's really very, very simple. But in the future, there's going to have to be Department of Department of Justice, Department of State, Department of Interspecies Communication, who knows? But definitely we're going to have to start working on that. It's going to be really important. And being it that the original language of human beings is the telepathy, it's really not that hard. It's really dealing with people's belief systems. And it's like when you are on the bike or you're learning to skate and you're afraid. Well, don't be afraid. Just do it. And if you fall down, get back up again, whatever. It's your fear that you can't do it that stops you from being telepathic. And then the more people you have around you that accept that and get in contact with the original mode of communication on planet Earth, which is telepathy, and apparently galactic also, it's going to get really interesting. So a cute little example of that, and I've said this before, but a lot of listeners are new. Many years ago, for the space of about a month, and I don't know why it happened, and it can't happen a lot because it's completely discombobulating. I was seeing people, and then I would see their spirit, which is their astral emotional body, which is the thing that separates for the last time when you die, but you have it from when you're born. And I would see the person, the physical body, and next to them would be their spirit. Okay, I could deal with that. The problem was that the person would be talking to me, and when they would finish talking, or even before they finished talking, their spirit would say, what they're saying is not true. That's not what they really feel. And I'm looking at the person, I just heard what they said or what they're finishing saying, and their spirit is standing there and going, that's not true. They don't believe that. That's not true. Now what? Do I answer the spirit, which is a body of truth, or this personality where we're having a logical, normal human conversation that we can continue? I didn't do anything. I would listen to the person and continue, and I wouldn't even incorporate what their spirit was telling me. But it was very difficult because the difference in opinions and in what it is that the person wanted to tell me, their personality and the physical body, compared to what their spirit wanted me to know, was two entirely different things. And that's the whole point of human evolution. We're supposed to be one. We're not supposed to be split. When I'm talking to you, I'm supposed to be talking to you truthfully, at which time my spirit would be really happy. But we're not allowed to be truthful. We're taught not to be truthful. We're taught to pitch the particular public that we're pitching. You can't just say anything. You have to say something that keeps them interested. You can't say the whole truth because it'll be too scary. And you can't say, you know what, I really don't want to do this chat today. I'm tired. So I'm not going to do the chat today. No, it's 7 o'clock. You're supposed to be here. So there's so many ways in which, what was that quote I came up with? We are constructed to create, and then we are instructed to obey. That's what it is. Our mind creates, but that we're taught in 1,000 different ways to not create, but just follow somebody else's instructions, which may not even be their own creation. So the telepathy, if we can get it developed, is not just going to help us having to do with these beings that are going to show up. It's going to help us with ourselves. It's going to help us to recognize that we have a part of ourselves that we haven't integrated with, that is not only has an incredible amount of information, but the movie Star Wars, when it says, "May the Force be with you," that spirit part of you is the Force. It's your astral body, and astral particles, which is what that body is composed of, according to Hinduism, is a force. When you are really angry and you're holding a glass in your hand and it shatters, that is the force of your emotions, of your astral body, which is your emotional body, shattered that glass. And it sitting in your hand, it didn't hit up against anything. It's a force. So the quicker we do this whole interspecies communication thing, this whole telepathy thing, the quicker we're going to be able to get into fast forward in terms of having an integration within ourselves, at which time we won't need for bad stuff to happen outside of ourselves to be a mirror to tell us you got a problem. You will already be at one with you, and you will already know that you have a problem. Therefore, you don't need an outside problem to knock at the door telling you you have a problem internally. This is getting too complicated. So I'm going to change the subject. Sound therapy. I noticed as I was getting dressed that I have a couple of spots in the top of my chest, between the top of my chest and my throat, which happens to be where the thymus is, and the skin is getting like a little shiny. Not good. What does that mean? Whatever it means, it's not good. So what was my first thought? My first thought was, Mateo Cuaron, you need to please put together a composition that is for the thymus, which is also where I believe the chakra called the high heart is, which I believe is where your desire to live is, which is where your etheric body, the one that is like the Higgs field, but in a grid shape of the physical body, that's where it anchors. So rather than thinking, what homeopathic remedy should I put on the top of my chest, because I don't like the way that's looking, I thought, what is the frequency that I need to address whatever the heck is going on there? And it has all to do with desire to live. There's a lot of issues in this country, and unfortunately, I'm caught up in many of them because of having been in a mind control program, having been sex trafficked with politicians, etc., blah, 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 all that stuff. So it makes sense that I would be right now under a tremendous amount of stress. But my thought was, I'm not going to the doctor. Why on earth would I do that? If I went to them, I'd be in a wheelchair already. I want a frequency. Well, I got connections, and I'm going to get a composition made up. And if you ever feel like you don't really feel very vital about living, that's the one you need to listen to. If you have huge health issues, that's the composition you need to listen to. Isn't that neat? The whole thing with working in the other dimensions is so much more efficient, so much more fun, and so much more cost effective than limiting yourself to the physical dimension, that I think that Trump should open a department having to do with, let's get this whole other dimensional stuff figured out and incorporated, because it's a tremendous amount of money that could be saved and lives in misery. When you get into alternative medicine at the level in which I'm trying to get you into, which is very much causal and the elements, which is not what a lot of the alternative medicine is about, unfortunately, you become like a little detective. It's no longer, darn, I want what that is. Maybe I have cancer. Let me call the doctor and let me go through all this stuff and then get bad news or, oh my God, everything's fine news. No, it's a lot more exciting than that. I wonder what chakra this is. Then you look, because I don't know what rest of the things this particular area channels. So I'm going to look up the high heart chakra because that's where those two patches of skin are. So it's a lot. You become your own detective. You become more master of your destiny. You can get it figured out in an hour what the heck is going on, including getting a homeopathic remedy for it. If I wanted to go to fast forward and find something I pick up at the store tomorrow, I'd look up, okay, that area, high heart, look it up and find out what homeopathic remedy would work for, let's say, the thymus, because that's the area that it's in. So, and I'm not saying you shouldn't go to your medical doctor. My goodness, we're going to have to keep that very inefficient system going for a while longer. And then in that department of incorporating other dimensional wisdom into the functioning of the United States of America, I would set up a program to teach old people how to stay healthy. Right now, and I know I'm rambling, and I'm okay with that because you see, I'm really tired and stressed, and you can always just click off. Old people have as their health the center of their life. Their life is not the center of their life, their health. And in Miami, waiting for the little bus to pick them up to take them to the health center, and then they sit there and they play dominoes and whatever, but it's still a health center. It's all about their health. So if you go to visit them, what's going on? Oh, the doctor's changing my medication. What is that all about? You're going to get old to do that? No, 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 no. I did a radio show and I don't remember what I was diagnosing in people. And I remember saying to a couple of them, you really need to get into the yard. You need to get some sun. You need to get contact with a tree. And they would always say the same thing. Oh no, I'm sick. I can't go outside. What? What? If you're sick, you need to go outside. Chinese medicine, balance of the four elements. You need to go outside. No, I can't go outside. You know what I used to tell them? I used to tell them to sit by the window and hold their palm open and let the sun shine onto the palms of their hand to get some of the fire element. How can that be? So there has to be this whole shift, and we need to get a society that's not sitting around keeping themselves busy as they wait to die, and then they go into the medical, they hop on the medical train where everything is about they're sick, their blood, their medication, their cholesterol medication. Now they're changing it, and now there's a new thought, and there's a new drug, and there's a new this, and my heart, my high blood pressure. And I know that I'm rambling for some of you, but did you know what high blood pressure is? High blood pressure is stress. Yeah, you all know that. Yeah, but you don't really know that. You stress so much, your muscles started to clench. Your mind strings started to clench up. And so those tubes that are your veins and arteries, they started to get tight. So your heart had to pump more in order to get the blood to continue to roll through there. That's high blood pressure. Oh, okay, we know that. Okay, so how do you get that down in 5 minutes? You do a mantra. What's the mantra? Even though you're depressed? No, because when you're depressed, you don't tighten up. You loosen up. You're angry. So you do the mantra, even though I hate, and there's nothing I can do, I love and accept myself. And in 5 minutes, you get your blood pressure down because you took the fire out of your muscles, and because you're not allowed to scream and yell and to act out, you have to swallow that. It lands in your tissues and in your muscles. They tighten up, your veins and arteries tighten up, and you have high blood pressure. So I've had so many people have older women that follow in the Mantrist movement, and they've had really high blood pressure, and they're rushing them to the hospital, or they're calling the ambulance, whatever. And they say that by the time they get to the hospital, they remembered, they did the mantra, and their blood pressure was fine. Go home. There's so much that happens within our body that can be resolved very easily. I'm not saying you don't need your doctor. I don't want the medical mafia after me, You have a physical body, you need a physical doctor. But there's so much that you can do for yourself. And it's so much more fun, and it's so much cheaper, and so much more efficient. And we don't end up being a whole country of old people talking about our health. Our health is supposed to be a side thing, it's supposed to be a baseline thing. And from there, having relatively good health, you do stuff. And then if you get sick, you ask, why did I need to get sick? And then you go into medical systems and situations that are very efficient in addressing what you have because those same systems actually know what you have. They don't just have names for diseases, they actually know the organ that produced that situation and what it is that that organ would have wanted you to do, which many times has nothing to do with food. Anyway, I am going to stop rambling and we're going to do 10 minutes of mantra. And it's going to be the one about being a master. Because honestly, you need to trolley along really quickly and start mastering the other dimensions so that the next time you buy a home, you make sure you don't buy a home near an Indian burial ground or near a portal. And you get a background check and you make sure that in that home, there were no huge traumas. Like years ago, when there were so many foreclosures, and a significant percentage of homes were sold in foreclosures or short sales, which meant a significant percentage of the homes in the United States are haunted because those months or years that those people had to live in that home while it was finally decided that they were going to not be able to keep it, or the bank came in and took it over, all that human negative emotions, toxic, open portals and spirits come in. All those houses were haunted and full of bad luck and full of bad endings. So you come into a home where the previous family were massively depressed, lost everything they had, and that is in the walls, in the air. And then you don't know why everything went south economically for you since you moved there. The area in which you live, if you want to be wealthy, then you need to pay attention to where you live because the area around you will contribute or detract from that intention. Well, I can't afford to be on Fifth Avenue. No, you can't. But there are certain areas that are known for producing creative people who go on to bigger and better things, even though they were poor as church mice when they lived in that area. You just have to get a little bit creative, ask questions, and you need to be a little bit thoughtful. And there's not a map having to do with that yet, but there will be. There will be. So I'm going to pull up the music, and the mantra is okay. The mantra is hold on. This is it. Even though I'm afraid to be a master. And this all has to do with that darn third eye that has been given such a bad rap. And if you're into that, well, you're obviously trying to control other people via conspiracy. No, I want you to control yourself. I want you to be in control of your destiny. Let's go ahead and figure out what, I know the music we have to do. Is it? Yes, this one. Okay, we're going to do 10 minutes. The mantra is, even though I'm afraid to be a master, I love and accept myself. And you know something? Hold on a second. I have got to say one more thing. Yesterday, my chat was discombobulated. That's why we didn't make it into a podcast. And today, perhaps it has been also. I think that we need to finish with the whole issue with the sex trafficking and child trafficking. Today, Trump was supposed to say that people that sex traffic children or child traffic children were going to be given death sentences. That's great. Except I lived on the block with people who did that to me when I was a child. Okay. Well, at some point he's got to say that. I know, but this could be 10 more years. Why is it that these things are not getting addressed? Because those of us that were there, we are having to live in society with those people that did that. while the people that with the power are arguing about how to do it and are taking forever, leaving all of the rest of us in a tremendous amount of fear and in a very dangerous situation. So I would like to ask everybody in power, whether they're coming in or they're going or whatever, you need to address this. This is not right. You didn't take care of us when we were kids. You're not taking care of us now. Okay? So get with the program, do something about it. And I'm not sure telling those people that you're going to put them to death is the thing to do now, because what may end up happening, they may end up putting us, kicking us out. In other words, we may end up being the victims that end up being victimized again by being killed, or absolutely we are being threatened. So I think maybe you guys in power need to think about this a little bit, because it's an awful lot of people in my situation. And that's what you guys were all so surprised at. Oh my God, this is so big. This is bigger than a bread box. This is thousands and thousands of people. Yes, it is thousands and thousands of people. And it's been years and years and years. And it's about time that you, and if the whole country collapses, it's going to have to collapse, because this is no way for a nation to live with this many people that are frightened, to where you're saying that the people in Congress that are doing things as, why are they doing that? They're threatened too. So you need to, you can't just talk, you need to do, and you need to take into consideration the victims that are still out there that don't have any protection, because we don't. Okay? Let me put the mantra back up. It's up, even though I'm afraid to be a master. I love and accept myself. And let's do the music. Okay. Feel more relaxed? You can hear from my voice that I'm more relaxed. Okay. We will be back. Maybe I will be more centered. Maybe there'll be less things happening in the other dimensions and less things happening in the news that are so triggering. But see how much softer my voice is after doing the mantra? And that's the way it needs to be. We need to be able to recognize when we're off, and then we need to learn and incorporate what makes us more centered so that we can actually vitalize our intentions. And it should be something that doesn't have a long list of secondary effects. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again.